Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS slate breakdown for September 10th, Tuesday. Baseball is once again center stage in the sports world with no NFL today, so we will dive into the big boy slate. But before we do, come join us at LineStar. It's only $39.99 per month, gets you access to everything we do. We also have several ways to get in cheap. You can go through a 7-day free trial if you've never used us before through the app stores, both Android or iOS. You also can use our promo partners, our affiliates down there, Parlay Play, Sleeper, Underdog, Chalkboard. Just go to our pricing page. All of the links, the promo codes are all LineStar. Deposit $10 if you can after. Fill out this form to us, contact us there, and we can upload that month free. Now, let's get into it. We got a lot to cover. It is an interesting 11-game slate. We will start with good old perfect lineup on FanDuel. Joey Cantillo went nuts. Then we had a 3-man Boston stack, 2-man Cubs stack, and some one-offs, with the winning lineup going to Silent Runner 65. You were not so silent yesterday. You made some big waves there. We're putting up 289.7. Just a wild score. They crushed second place and then crushed the train in the 260s there. So congrats to them. They had Joey Cantillo. They had a 3-man Yankees stack, 4-man Boston, and then Bo Naylor one-off, who you had a catcher go with a home run and 2 stolen bases. Quite a day. Congrats to them. And now let's bring it into DraftKings perfect lineup. Unfortunately, I do not have the winning lineup there, but we had Tyler McGill, 2-man Cleveland stack, 3-man Boston, 2-man Cubs was that perfect lineup, and quite a ways away from the full salary. So let's dive into this slate. Now we are on DraftKings, getting over to highest owned at pitcher, Aaron Savali, 20% owned versus the I almost said 49ers because San Francisco, but versus the Giants. Look, he has been pretty good ever since he got to Milwaukee. He's 3.69 FIP over his last 5 starts. I don't mind him in this spot. I think 6.3K is way too cheap, 2.5X. I don't think his ownership is too high to really fade him, so I'm definitely interested in him. Now, he is a guy that has a decent floor, very rarely has, what we'd want as a ceiling game, but at 6.3K, he can get 22, 24, something like that, and that is more than enough. Don't mind this spot whatsoever. 25.7%. Combined K rate at 6.3K. I will take that all day long. Next, we got Pablo Lopez versus the Angels. Lopez has started pitching pretty well. 2.55 FIP over his last 5. 3.76 over his last 20. The only worry here is his K rate is down to 21.8%. However, Angels striking out almost 25% over the last 20 games versus righties, and in the team VBP numbers, BVP, their K rate is 32.6 versus Pablo Lopez. So I'm very interested in him at 9.1K, 2.5X. He's in a great spot. I'm totally willing to take some Pablo Lopez in this spot. Next, we got Spencer Arrighetti, 8.4K. Look, he is too cheap on DraftKings, but I think this is a little bit of a tough spot for him. 1, Oakland's been hitting really well. 2, he has struggled versus Oakland. 47 plate attempts. They're hitting 302 off him. That is 3 matchups this season with him. Gave up 2 earned runs early in the year, 5 Ks. Gave up 3 earned runs, 7 Ks, May 25th. And then in July, 4 earned runs in 6 innings. Now, this guy is pitching much better than he was in May, but during his hot streak, he still got lit up a little bit versus Oakland. So I don't love this spot for him, but At 8.4K, you got a guy with a combined K rate of 27.6. That alone makes me want to have some of him. Am I going to totally fade him? Absolutely not. Am I going to go super overboard on his ownership? Probably also not. Zach Gallen, 8.6K. I like the spot for him quite a bit, and I'm going to probably have a decent amount. 3.25 FIP or 2.3 FIP over his last 5. And 3.65 over his last 20. I think he's in a decent spot. Texas offense just isn't what it was last year. And then you look at what he's done versus Texas. 62 plate attempts, almost a 34% K rate, and a 207 average. Give me some Gallen tonight. He's at home. He's in a decent spot. I'm going to definitely have a decent amount of him. Next, you got Darvish. Versus Seattle. I like the spot for you. We know you can have some big games. There is a little bit of worry about his pitch count. He had only 63 pitches versus Detroit in 2.2 innings last time out. That was his first time pitching since May 29th. So there's definitely some worry as far as what his pitch count would be. I would expect him to be able to go into the 80s, which over his last 20 games, his pitch count is at 83. So he is a guy that is efficient and can work deep into games on minimal pitches. And when he gets it going, that strikeout rate, that ceiling is absolutely there. And I don't mind taking some shots versus a Seattle team that's just not that great hitting the ball. They are better lately, but still not that great. I'm in. I think you is cheap and has some ceiling. Next, we got Chris Bassett versus the Mets. Mets have been hitting well. Bassett's all over the place. I don't love this spot, but I also don't mind it. He's 8.4K with a 26.5% combined K rate, so a little bit interested there. The Mets also have fallen off a little bit. They're not quite as hot as they used to be. Now we're going to skip some here, get down to David Peterson. Peterson's been pitching very well lately. Blue Jays haven't been good versus lefties. 215 average with 141 ISO and a 281 WOBA and a 25% K rate over their last 20 games. So I think it's a little interesting. Peterson is worse away, though, averaging almost 27% less fantasy points while away. 8.5K is a little expensive for him, but I'm a little interested in that spot. Cutter Crawford's in a tough one versus Baltimore. Don't love it. Shota, probably the best pitcher on the slate or top 2 on the slate, but in a very, very tough matchup versus the Dodgers. Not sure you want to go there, but there is some upside. We've seen him put up 30 plus, 5 times this year. George Kirby versus the Padres. Kirby is amazing at home, has had a tough stretch lately. Not sure which one's going to break here, but one is. Padre matchup isn't a good one. They solid average, solid ISO, solid WOBA, don't strike out much. It is not a team I like to pick on right now. Nathan Eovaldi versus the Diamondbacks. Little interested here. Arizona's cooled down a little bit lately. They aren't as red hot as they were. Eovaldi's pitching very well, has a nice K rate, has a nice ceiling, and has done well versus Arizona in the past. 46 plate attempts, a 43.5% combined K rate, 220 average. He's just crushed Arizona. So a little interested. However, also very hard to want to go there versus the Diamondbacks. So I don't mind it, but I think there's a lot of good pitchers, and I'm probably not really going to have much, but that is definitely a low-owned pivot. Now let's get over to FanDuel, see what we can cover up on the ownership here. Highest owned, we got Pablo Lopez. No surprise, he's in a great spot. Spencer Arrighetti is next. Low-owned pivot, I love Zach Gallen in that spot. Aaron Savali at 8.5K. Big time price difference there. Definitely a little bit interested there. And then I'm interested in Yu Darvish as well at 8.7. He can be efficient. He can go 6 innings and 80, 85 pitches, and he's in a decent spot, so I don't mind going there. The game total is 7, super low, so definitely some interest there. Now, let's head on over to DK and check out some stack attacks. All right, so our highest ceiling, we have the Cubs versus the Dodgers. Hitting environment isn't quite as good as it was yesterday. It's not as warm, but it's still decent. We don't know who the Dodgers are throwing out there for pitcher yet, but Cubs been hitting the ball well lately. Arizona versus Evaldi. We know Evaldi is prone to some blow up games, so I don't hate going there. Oakland, pretty interesting versus Arrighetti. They've got to him a little bit in the past. That bullpen isn't that great. Could make some waves at low ownership. In our highest owned stacks, we got Cleveland versus Jonathan Cannon. Makes all the sense in the world. Cannon, 4.8 FIP over his last 20. Almost a FIP of 6 over his last 5. Behind him is a poor bullpen. Definitely interested on them. Minnesota versus Griffin Canning. Also very interested. 5.1 FIP over his last 20 starts. He's got blown up quite a bit this year. Minnesota has some power. They got a lot of different things. Don't hate going there. Our highest projected, we got the Dodgers over Shota Amanga. I don't love this spot. However, Shota does have a 4.69 FIP over his last 5 starts. He hasn't been quite as good in the short term as he was to begin this season. So I understand wanting to go to Dodgers a little bit. Boston versus Suarez also popping up a little bit. Suarez has just been kind of meh, so I don't hate going there. However, that bullpen behind him is pretty good. And Yankees popped up a little bit as well. High value, we got the White Sox versus Ben Lively. It didn't work out yesterday, but I'm fine going back to some White Sox leverage stacks here. Well, not really leverage because Lively won't be high owned, but they are super low owned. Lively, on the other hand, 5.25 FIP over, or 2.5, 2.7, depending on what time frame, over the last 20 or over the last 5 starts. Definitely interested in some Chicago White Sox stacks. They are in an interesting spot. Now, our highest implied run total, we got Boston versus Albert Suarez. Bullpen behind Suarez is decent, so you don't love that. And then you also have 4.8 with Cleveland, and the bullpen behind Jonathan Cannon is awful. Houston versus Beto. Don't mind the spot. However, Beto has been decent. And then Minnesota versus Griffin Canning, I think, makes a lot of sense, as does the Yankees versus Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo is a very solid pitcher, but the bullpen behind him is poor, so they're going to have to get some work done on Lugo to get him out of the game a little bit early. If they do, becomes a little interesting for those Yankee stacks. Dodgers at 4.4, Mets 4.3, St. Louis at 4.3, Arizona at 4.2. Nice little leverage stack there. And Baltimore at 4.2 versus Cutter Crawford, who hasn't been as good at Fenway, and the bullpen behind him is very poor. So I think there's a bunch of different ways you can go. And my favorite leverage stack is probably San Diego versus George Kirby. But Kirby isn't that high owned. He just hasn't been pitching that well as of late. That'll do it for us today, guys. We will be back tomorrow. I hope you guys good luck and many takedowns. Let's get after it. See you guys later. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.